Welcome. Today we're going to talk about furries. Now, why this needs to be done sooner than later is because couldn't help but notice they seem to be on the rise. Like, they're all over VRChat YouTube. And here, look at this. They're all over VRChat Twitch. Like, earlier this morning, I took, like, a picture of, like, the top 12, like, active live VRChat streamers. And so you could see them here. And what I did is I put like a little number next to like the furries, right? So out of 12 of them, 8 of them are furries, which is insane. Like this, I swear, a couple months ago, well maybe like half a year ago, this wasn't a thing. I started noticing it, like certainly maybe around this year, but it's like it's getting out of hand now. It's spreading like a damn plague. So I don't know if this is to blame for like they had some weird furry event recently, like right? It was like a VRChat virality thing. I don't know. Maybe that's to blame. I don't really know why this is happening. I mean, I have an idea. I have some theories which I'm going to get to in a minute, which is going to make a lot of sense because I've said some things about these furries that have it's been up for interpretation, I suppose, but today I'm going to try and help prove that a little bit with the help of some other videos and stuff. But before I get into all that, let me just preface the rest of this by saying there's nothing inherently good about being a furry. There's just none. Like, you could argue and say there's nothing bad, but I'm here to, like, there's nothing good about it. Like, you can't say there's anything specifically good that comes from it. Like, whether you're being like if you're being specific, there's just not a single good aspect about it. Anytime you ask this question of furries or whoever, they're gonna say a vague reason that could be used for pretty much any group, like, oh, it's a fun community, blah blah blah. Like, you could say that about nearly any group. Oh, they're accepting. Sounds like another certain group we're gonna talk about here in a minute. Which yeah, brings me to the point. I'm just going to say it now. There are very many similarities between the furries and the LGBTs, and I think I have enough. I've compiled some things. I think I'm going to pretty well prove that here today. So, like I said, I did compile a few things. I have like a little collection of some videos and some pictures I'd like to go over first. Let me take a look here. Okay, the first thing we're going to go over is, let's see here. Why not? This makes sense. Obviously, we have to set a foundation. We got to set a little base. So, today we're primarily going to be talking about the furry as a person. The word furry can describe the people and the character. So the characters are anthropomorphic animals, right? Like human-like animals, whatever. But the furry as a person, according to this definition here, which is from a recent, furry, like, YouTube documentary I saw a while ago, it says here that to be a quote-unquote furry, you pretty much have to be to that level where you're dressing up in the costumes or using characters or avatars online. Now, that's very relevant because this is VRChat, and the only way you're getting here is with an avatar, so now that we have that foundation laid out, we could build upon that and move forward. So let's see. Okay, throughout the video, I'm just going to say some points. This is almost going to be like a debate, a one-sided one, where I'm just going to give you my side of things, and then you're more than welcome to think about them, maybe tell me how you feel in the comments. I don't really care. I'm just saying, you know, I'm just telling you what I've found in a completely unbiased way. Let's take a look. So the first thing I'm going to say is here. I could almost compare being a furry to, I don't know, like some kind of mental illness. I say this all the time, right? So you have the furries, like on the topic of species. I always compare them to the trans, because the trans, they have gender dysphoria, and that is to be believed to be a mental illness, which is in like what's it called, the DSM-5. People are going to argue and say, it changed. If anything, it's for PC, like, political reasons, but I'm not even going to worry about that. By the definition itself of, like, what a mental illness is, it's pretty obvious that, yes, having these nearly, like, schizophrenic thoughts, these delusions of trying to be a different gender, yeah, that sounds pretty mentally ill to me. Anyway, that's not what this video about, but like I said, there's a lot of similarities between these two people, and there might be a reason for that. But anyway, what I was getting to is, it's almost like they suffer from multiple personality disorder, or what it's known as now, dissociative identity disorder. There we are. And then you can see here, it says previously known as MPD, whatever. So, like, I read this definition, and I'm just thinking, like, okay, trans people are kind of like that in a way, but furries definitely are. Because the video I'm going to show you later kind of implies that they do have this, like, second persona or fursona, obviously, right? And it's almost used as, like, some sad little, like, coping mechanism, like a form of escape. And there's just nothing good about that. There's nothing sane about that. Having, like, being a grown adult and getting this deep, like, this obsessed with this little fandom that you have to escape through, like, this fictional little character kind of deal. It's obviously all kinds of messed up, but let me just go over the definition real quick. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Important note here in the very first paragraph. It goes over some potential causes. As you can see here, it could possibly include severe trauma. You see that? Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. The trauma, like the childhood trauma, very important. And it says here, usually extreme, repetitive. Sexual? Sounds familiar. Anyway, also known as split personality disorder. Schizophrenia is almost like that, like when you're suffering from delusions or hallucinations, like you have these voices in your head telling you, oh, you should be an animal instead, or oh, you're a dude, but you should be a woman instead, blah, blah. Anyway, let's see, mental process, yada, yada, yada. You see, it says here, a coping mechanism. It's too violent, traumatic, painful. So with that being said, compare that to what being a furry is. Like, if you compare that to the idea of going too deep into what is a furry, it seems pretty similar, right? Again, the video I'm going to show you here in a second is going to heavily imply that. And don't take my word for it. You could go blame them if you're mad. But before I get into the video, I just want to see if there's anything else. Actually, I suppose I could pull it up real quick. Here, let me turn off the music. Here, let's see what we got here. Where is it? Okay, here it is. Give me 1 second. I actually forgot to... There it is. Oh, yes. Okay. Now, this video is from National Geographic, of all sources. It's going to be linked in the description. It's only about 3 minutes, but there's some things I want to go over, and then right after this one, there's a very small portion from a big furry documentary that I want to go over as well. So let's listen in, shall we? Please just ignore the disgusting intro.
I'm a 24-year-old adult, and my hobby is dressing up as a blue cat on weekends.
Now, I just want to pause for a second. Yeah, 24-year-old man who wants to dress up as a blue cat on his weekend. Totally normal behavior, by the way.
I wanted to be able to actually, like, wear, you know, from head to toe.
Also, I'm going to keep pausing the video, but keep in mind, I want you to pay attention how these people look. I'll get to that once the video is done, but even when the next video plays, keep that in mind, how these people look. Very important.
Exactly like I do sort of in my head.
Courtney.
You hear that? He wants to look like how he thinks he does in his head. How is he not mental?
Furry, one of a growing number of people who believe that they are part human, part animal.
So part human, part animal. Now, a lot of the furries in, like, the comments of that video are going to disagree with that, and they're going to be like, oh, those are actually Therians, or they call them otherkin or some nonsense like that. I'm going to get to why they are two in the same. Like, your normal stereotypical furry is pretty much a Therian or otherkin. Like, any furry you meet in VRChat, any furry that uses the costumes or anything like that, like, they're that much of a fanatic, like a zealot for the cause, that they start wearing the costumes or the avatars, right? To that extent, you are certainly what you claim you are not, but anyway.
He feels the need to get in touch with his inner kitten, called Nuka.
Inner kitten.
Putting on the full fursuit for Nuka is, it's unbelievable. When I'm Courtney, I'm shy, I'm nervous. I don't like having a lot of attention on me. Courtney is the stressed out grad student trying to work on a PhD.
You hear what he said. He says he's like, oh, the normal Courtney, by the way, is him, nervous and shy, by the way. But when I get in this cat persona, here, listen.
For being Nuka, he's mischievous and playful and silly, and when I'm in my persona, I don't mind people looking at me. I'm okay with being the center of attention. I don't feel so embarrassed to have everyone's eyes on me. If I got it.
Anyway, you heard him. He himself said fursona, right? So it's just a furry persona, which is almost like a different like character in a way. It's some strange things to say the least, but
a pair of ears and a tail on, or if I'm wearing my collar, or if I'm in the mindset of Nuka, I'll run out to a group of people and be really enthusiastic. I engage with people a lot more.
While Courtney feels comfortable in fur, most people would find this behavior bizarre.
yeah, no shit.
Furries can be considered great.
You guys hear the meow?
Because we look at people dressing up in furry costumes as being child's play, and it's something that should have been left in the past and not brought into an adulthood.
Okay, so I think she actually makes a very good point. Now, keep in mind the guy there, he's 24, right? So she said this is something that is essentially child's play, which a lot of people would agree with. Like, when you think of, like, a stereotypical child, like, really young, like, they go in the backyard and they just, like, play, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to be a pirate, I'm going to be an astronaut, and they just kind of role play in the backyard. They, they get their little costumes and do that kind of thing, right? So they're just playing. But the problem here is we have grown-ass adults doing this. In public, too, which makes it 10 times worse, so, yeah.
It's considered strange for grown men and women to dress up as furry animals because most adults just can't relate to people who want to do that.
Maybe that's because most adults are, normal, right? Like, in my entire lifetime, I've only seen 3 real furries, and all 3 of them were either hideously, like, nerdy, ugly, or just obese and just smelled really bad.
Strange as it may seem, Courtney feels more like himself when he's Nuka.
Feels more like himself. Just again, oh shit. Just pay attention. Hold on. Accidentally. Just pay attention how these people look. Don't forget. Do not forget. Hold on, where is it? Nope, gotta go forward.
Something that should have
People who want to do that.
Sorry about that.
Grown men and women to
Yeah, grown men and women, whatever.
Furry animals because most adults just can't relate to people
Yep,
who want to do that.
true.
Strange as it may seem, Courtney feels more like himself when he's Nuka.
Nuka. Look at him.
Yet he's far from alone. He's just one of up to 1 million people worldwide who belong to the furry fandom.
You think you're furry, you feel like
You just take a look at those 2 old people real quick. Just look at the way they're looking. They're like, what the hell is this? That is a normal reaction because you go out in public, you don't typically see that.
like any other subculture, we
Look at this guy.
together because we have this common interest.
Acne all over his face.
Eric belongs to Courtney's local fandom.
There's the neck beard.
His fursona is a hybrid fox, dragon, and plant called alkane.
Very creative. I hold on. I love this imagery right here. It's like, how do I describe this, right? It's almost like you see like a genuine schizo just kind of looking at his other self, right? Like over on your right hand side is the real person, and then he's looking at like what he projects himself to be, this disgusting animal mutant abomination thing. And it's the secondary personality he has, which is, as he's going to describe here in a second, closeted. Oh my god.
A lot of social barriers that I don't like have been removed. So I get to have a lot more fun without people thinking I'm weird or strange because I'm already weird and strange.
Well, see, the thing he doesn't understand is people are going to still think he's weird and strange anyway, but they're not going to know it's him because he's concealed by the costume.
I'm not in the closet. so to speak. I keep alkane in my closet, but that's about it.
Okay.
Research suggests that up to 85% of furries believe they're not entirely human.
Now, what that said is incredibly important. It says research suggests that, 85% of them believe they're not entirely human. Now, you can go to the video, and unfortunately, they didn't seem to link, like, a source where they got that from, and a lot of comments are asking. And I'm also curious, but this is National freaking Geographic, so they can't just go out and say something like that, so I really wonder where they get their source from. Now, obviously, because they don't seem to provide it, you could sit here and be like, oh, well, it's untrue, or whatever. However, I'm going to attempt to, kind of prove that that is indeed the case, and furries are kind of hypocritical when it comes to this. What I'm saying is, technically, yeah, they actually do wish they were the animals, but anyway. Again, just take a look at these people. And no, okay, that's enough of that. Anyway, here's the thing about how these people look. Being like a loser or like a social reject or like a social outcast is essentially like a prerequisite to being a furry. Like, you have to essentially just be a loser or like a nerd or a geek to become one of these things. And generally, the opposite's not true. Like, you're not going to get a normal person who's going to be a furry. They're essentially mutually exclusive. Like, you can't really have both. Like, when you get to that point, you're no longer normal. And the reason why I bring up looks is because, like, there's a reason why these ugly freaking people are a bunch of, like, furry weirdos. I always say this. There's, like, a theory I've been trying to establish, right? Or just bring up that just like the LGBTs, and why they're so similar is inherently these people are just degenerate and, again, socially outcast, right? Like, they've been stigmatized for countless years, yeah? And so, like, because these people do look the way they are, like, they I guess, tend to get picked on or treated differently, right? So it's like, of course they're going to turn out to be some kind of weirdo. Or maybe it's just, I don't know, like, humanity has rejected them so hard that they just want to withdraw and just become something else, yeah? It could be anything at the end of the day. Before I continue with the other pictures, let me just pull up the other video. I did not remember to put it, or prepare it, so let me just pull that up real quick, and hopefully it works. Hold on.
It's a social space that...
Okay, I can't hear it, so I gotta cut out the video real quick. Hold up. Okay, sorry about that. Like I said, I did not prepare the video. My bad. Caught me in 4K. Anyway, I have it here. I couldn't pull it up as quickly as I thought, because, like, there's a stupid audio thing you have to manually set, or else I won't be able to hear it. And to comment on it, I kinda need to hear it. Anyway, this is from some other furry documentary that I will also have linked in the description. A fairly long one that I definitely couldn't make it through the whole thing, because it's just disgusting. I just hate looking at these foul beings. Anyway, a large portion of this video is going to be focusing on, again, comparing the furries to the LGBTs. Well, this portion of their video here is going to heavily imply that the LGBT group kind of funneled into the furry group. And here, let me play it. It's a little quiet, so just bear with me.
The social space that is largely queer and gravitates around using art as the vehicle to explore identity.
Right. So, he said it himself, right? Like, it's primarily queer or something like that, which is like LGBTQ, whatever. I'm not sure what queer, I guess, is like, I don't know, like queer in behavior, stereotypically gay, like James Charles, I guess. I don't know. I'm assuming that's what that is. Or maybe it's just weird, but, that's a very vague term. Anyway.
Since you had all of the role players coming in, all the college students coming into the fandom, the gender of the content began to shift. You had a lot more males. You had a lot more lesbian couples and gay couples.
people don't realize it, but back in the 60s and 70s, there wasn't that much of a gay community.
Where could you go for companionship? Someplace where you had an equal chance of getting your teeth kicked in or getting arrested.
Yep.
Right about the time that furry fandom was hitting was right about the time that the AIDS crisis hit.
Now, in case you didn't hear that, he said right when, here, I'll replay it, the furry fandom, like, I guess, kicked off. That's when the AIDS thing started?
Was hitting, was right was hitting, time that furry fandom was hitting, was right about the time that the AIDS crisis hit.
So, apparently when furries started kicking off big time and popping off, that's when the AIDS crisis started. Why? Now, how is that? That's a little weird. Or maybe it's not.
There was, in fact, an LGBT contingent in the furries.
Yep.
We're going to celebrate both of those at once.
We're going to celebrate both of those at once. Now, I want you to keep this in mind. This is very important. Don't forget that the LGBTs regularly celebrate this quote-unquote pride thing, okay? You're going to see the same thing in the furries, and you're going to see them, intertwined. You're going to see them combined and essentially be somewhat the same thing. I'll talk more in depth about that later, but let me finish playing this.
I still remember how I felt when I joined the fandom. When I was like a teenager, and I had no idea if I was queer or not, and if I was really scared to talk about it, and I couldn't tell my friends.
Yeah, gee, I wonder why. But what he's saying is like, I guess he's going to get into it later in that video. At this point, he's implying that this group he joined, this furry group, is, accepting and comfortable, so I guess eventually he came out of the closet and exposed to everyone that he was gay or queer or whatever. I don't know the difference, but the issue here is like you see where I'm going with this. He's talking about the furry group, but you just change up the words and like instead of furry group now it's like an LGBT group. They're essentially one and the same, right? Like it's the same people, and this is heavily backed up. Like if you play VRChat for a while, if you've played VRChat for a while like I have, you've noticed that the overwhelming majority of furries are LGBT, and I've always wondered why. And you could even go back in like the old I guess like the furry commandment video and see where I like confronted a few of them and asked them about that, and I give my explanation. But these documentaries are shedding light on that, and it's really starting to make sense now. So this is why the furry group is primarily LGBT, and this is why they also just happen to be a bunch of degenerates and sexual deviants and yada yada yada. Anyway, with that being said, I think I forgot to pull up like a little snippet from earlier. This is also from a furry documentary thing. I'm going to start going through these pictures and images and just describing them. But so this is from a very long furry documentary, which is like comparing, well, this particular segment is just comparing like the furry quote unquote fans, I guess the casuals, comparing them to like the diehard lifestylers as they call them. Now this kind of conflicts with the earlier definition I brought up, when I talked about like the Therians, and you could literally read it right here. Like you could just scroll down and say it's separate from Therians and other kin. Not really, because these quote unquote lifestylers are the furries I'm talking about, and which line up with the definition from earlier. So it's like when you get to the point where you start using the suits and the avatars, you cross over into that Therian other kin territory, and I'll explain that here soon. So, with that being said, the furries I'm talking about today, because they're in VRChat using the avatars, they're all technically these lifestylers, or like what I like to call them, like the fanatics, or, could be comparable to what they call Therians or other kins, which isn't entirely accurate, because here, look at this, right? Like, I've been saying this for a long time. You choose your avatar for a specific reason, and there's a very specific reason why a person would want to run around in, like, these animal avatars, right? So, from what I've experienced, these furries, like, I'll straight up ask them if they wish they were these things IRL, and a lot of them just admit it. And so, when these other naysaying furries say, oh, we don't want to be the animals, well, then you have these other furries say they do want to be the animals, right? So I hear this so often that I just begin to think that these skeptic naysaying furries are just either lying, or they're just like in the closet, or they're just like in denial, right? Because like there's just so much evidence out there. If you just go around and ask these furries, a lot of them will straight up admit it. And you know what? They don't even need to, because the sole fact that they're using the avatar when they have the choice to look like anything kind of proves it. Like, we could surely compare, like, the world of VRChat to, like, a big cosplaying convention. Sure, you could possibly do that. Like, obviously, you'll have, like, you know, people like myself in, like, these kind of silly get-ups, like, you're not going to see in public. Like, no one's going to go in public wearing a knight armor, crusader, whatever. So yeah, sure, there's going to be a little fantasy element in there. It's not going to be entirely real, you know, throw a little fiction and whatever. But, like, you still have the option to pick your race and gender, you know, species, whatever. So when you're a human being and you're actively changing your species, that does say something about you. And the naysayer furries are no different from these Therians or otherkins they're accusing. Like, this guy in the picture, I guess his name is Renard. I had to take a picture of this guy, right? The dude, he obviously isn't like this dog-looking avatar, but he has this freaking, like, he has a collar. He has an actual collar with this bloody name on it. Like, it's like dog RP. Like, they don't think they're animals. They don't want to be animals. And then they turn themselves into dogs, complete with collars and everything. It makes no sense. They seem to all be very hypocritical, right? A lot of them are like that. Let me see what else I have. And so, I mean, hey, if they don't want to be animals, then I say we don't have to treat them like people anymore. I think I'd agree with Mr. Heavy here that if they want to throw away their humanity and, you know, de-evolve and go backwards and lower themselves on the food chain, and they want to become these twisted creatures, then I say we treat them like the animals they want to be. So, you know, me personally, I'd put them on the grill, you know, get some nice barbecue sauce. I think that's where they would be best, personally. Anyway, memes aside, let's see what else I got here. Okay, got the collar. Oh, okay. Here's a picture of probably one of the ugliest furry avatars I've ever seen. I just want to talk about the style of these avatars real quick, okay? So, a lot of them are very sexual, and a lot of them are not. However, you have ones like this that have, like, the weird distorted thigh thing going on, and then some of them, like, you could kind of see have, like, bulges, and obviously from the, like, the neck up, it's just absolutely hideous. Like, I don't know what this guy was thinking, wanting to look like. This is hideous. This is horrendously ugly. It just looks awful. And that was a grown man, by the way, like an older guy. There's clearly something wrong with him if he wants to look like that. But on the topic of how they look compared to humans, right? So like we established before, like the definition of like a furry character is an anthropomorphic human, yeah, or excuse me, anthropomorphic animal. So a human-like animal, or like an animal with human-like characteristics. However, I just want to make a point out of this. Where the hell is it? Where is it? Is it? No, here it is. Okay, so these things, like, look at the Rex, which is, without question, the most common furry avatar in VRChat, bar none. Like, it's not even up for debate. You go to a furry lobby, go to just a random lobby, there'll be Rexes, that tan-looking thing, everywhere. That is, without question, the most popular furry avatar. Take a good look at it. It has absolutely no human-like features whatsoever. It has, like, the reverse joint-looking legs, you know, fur all over it, obviously. It's the animal-looking head, claws, blah, 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 big old tail. There is not a single human aspect about this avatar. Now, the furries are going to retort and be like, oh, well, they stand on two legs and quote-unquote talk, right? So when they use this logic, they're pretty much implying that if their normal dog were to get up on two legs and start, like, walking and talking, then they'd be anthropomorphic enough. And where do you think I'm going with what I'm trying to say here? Well, obviously, people sexualize these avatars. Like, I mean, I've reported many of these Rexes with, like, you know, genitals hanging off of them in public and all that. So when you sexualize these avatars, by definition, right, you are stimulating zoophilia, which is like the sexual attraction towards animals, right? Now, obviously, this isn't a real animal. However, it looks way more like a real animal than it does a human. Like, it doesn't look anything like a human, okay? So when you sexualize that thing and its animal-like genitals, of course this is simulating, like, bestiality when you, like, ERP with these avatars, okay? Now, the whole issue with this whole furry avatar thing is, like, obviously what I just said, but when you do sexualize these, it's just a total fetish. And the part is where, like, when you're wearing them in public, now everyone around you knows what you are. And a lot of these people just lack the self-awareness to understand this concept, and they just completely ignore it. And like the animals they try to be, they're completely shameless about it. Even the ones that maybe even know about it. Maybe the ones that are just so blatantly sexualizing these, like, they don't even deny it, right? Like, they're just so damn shameless about it. Again, like animals, so might as well just treat them like it. But again, when you sexualize these furry avatars, yeah, how is that not zoophilia? It's the same thing as, you know, if you're like an adult and you have like the lolly avatars in VRChat and you sexualize them. Obviously, it's not a real child, but it's a blatant depiction of one. So if you sexualize that, by definition, you're a pedophile. Get over it. So you're a zoophile if you sexualize Rexes. I'm just going to say it straight up. And the reason why I keep calling these furries hypocrites is because they say they get rid of, or they're completely against zoophiles, okay? But they themselves are zoophiles, right? I'm not saying they're literally fucking animals. They're just getting off to, like, the pictures, whether they're, you know, fictional or not. I mean, obviously they're fictional, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, look at that thing. If that thing got on all fours, I couldn't really tell it apart from, like, what would be a real animal. It just looks like a fox or like some weird twisted jackal or something, right? You couldn't even tell the difference. And they never wear any damn clothes, of course, so of course they're going to appear more animalistic automatically. But again, like, the huge issue is that they do it in public, and I've probably said this a few times, but it's... no one's perfect. Everyone has their demons. Everyone has their skeletons in the closet, like I do as well. Everyone does. No one's perfect. We're all disgusting, whatever. But there's a difference in displaying it publicly without any shame, and then, like, knowing what should be concealed and what should be, you know, withdrawn, right? Like, you ever hear the expression, like, TMI, too much information? This is one of those things. Whether they're aware of it or not, they're definitely just telling you that they enjoy the art, yeah? The sexual kind, right? You know, a lot of them are going to deny that. They'll do it because I guess a part of them is ashamed of it. But, like, dude, the furry porn came from furries. Like, it's made for them, by them. So when all these furries are out there saying, oh, I don't enjoy that stuff, and they all deny it, well, then they're liars, because who did it come from then? It came from them. It clearly did. And logic would dictate that these people would sexualize the avatars they're wearing, or sexualize, like, their favorite little characters from their favorite little fandom, as opposed to something else. Like, they may enjoy other things as well, but you know damn well it's inevitable that, like, a person is going to sexualize characters from their fandom. Like, we as human beings are very sexual in nature. Like, there's just no changing us. That's just who we are. I mean, they'd even tell you that we are animals, just like, you know, these furries. And I guess according to, like, I don't know, the scientists were part of the animal kingdom. Sure, I get it, but that's a topic for a different day. My point is that they're simply hypocrites when these furries are saying they're not Therians and they're not technically zoophiles, although they are, okay? Again, you sexualize that, and an overwhelming majority of them do. That's zoophilia. Get over it. Let me see what other notes and pictures I have here. Okay, here's one I would like to actually go over. This is like an argument from their end on how, oh, they're just mascots. No, like, I looked up the definition, because, like, when I really thought about it, I was like, what the hell is the purpose of a mascot anyway? Like, when you think about it, it's just some weird guy in, like, a costume dancing around. I guess it's just almost like a cheerleader. It's just to make things more interesting. Well, the definition says, yeah, it could be used as, like, a symbol of representation. Like, we get that. And then it says here, supposed to bring good luck. Yeah, that's something I learned just the other day. Another definition says the same thing about luck, Well, I tell you what, you're definitely not lucky if you're a furry. Quite the opposite, so that can't be it. So as far as like the symbol that they're representing, like what symbol? I guess the furry community? No, furries aren't mascots unless you just say they're mascots of the furry community. But what's the point of that? Like, there's no meaning in that statement. Like the avatars are the embodiment of the furry community. Like, the furry community is composed of these things, okay? Also, a mascot gets paid. It's a little different, you know. You guys ain't making any money running around your stupid animal costumes. You just do it for quote-unquote fun, right? It's just part of your little fandom or hobby, okay. So, no, furries aren't even remotely close to what a mascot is. And if mascots were that freaking ugly, I guarantee they would be a thing of the past. Let's be honest. Let's see what else I have here. Okay. Okay, there's that. Okay, hold on. Showed the pictures, Okay, I'll probably have some final thoughts at the end, but the main reason, my favorite thing, why I made this video, is to call out Christian furries, okay? Now, obviously, like, this is a huge problem right here. Before I show that, let me show you what I'm talking about. Go to any VRChat, like I used to do, and you'll notice something. You'll just notice something is a little wrong, you know, the church patrons aren't looking too well, or something a little off about them. It seems like the church has become a freaking zoo, as you can see. This was taken a while ago in Pastor Mike's church. I think his church is called like Meta Church. But you can't help but notice this. Like, the majority of them are furries. And I think a reason why furries become Christians in general is because they're just so... what's a good way to say this? Like, they're so weak, like they're so downtrodden, right? Like, they've been so rejected, and so they're looking for like an answer in life, because like there's so many people that just hate them and reject them that they don't really know where else to turn, and so they're traumatized and they're down bad. And then you have like these Christians be like, oh well, you know, worship Jesus and things will become better and all that stuff. And so that's honestly how I think all the furries got in the church, right? Because they're just so weak, and they were just kind of, they didn't know where else to turn. Now the issue is the furries, like, being a furry is ungodly, and I am going to prove it right now. First, let's just address the elephant in the room, the inevitable bestiality zoophilia thing. I don't really even need to go over this is common sense. Now, obviously, these furries aren't literal. I'm not saying they literally bang animals. I'm not saying they do that, but they sexualize them, so that makes them zoophiles, and they're simulating bestiality when they enjoy the furry porn or they ERP with the furry avatars. Like, you cannot deny that is exactly what that is. So you could see here famous Leviticus 18:22 about like the homosexual thing. Don't care about that, but 23 right next to it, you know, it says no intercourse with animals, obviously. But what I want to focus on is Daniel. Now, which one is this? This is Daniel chapter 4 verse 33, or it could probably start around like the 30s. Here, let me pull it up. Okay, it's already pulled up. So here, what it's describing is what happened to the prideful king Nebuchadnezzar. Yeah, he was very prideful. So I believe how the story went, he was looking over like his like balcony and just looking at the amazing city that he supposedly established, and he's just like, man, I'm so awesome. I made such a great city all by myself. And then you could see here immediately what had been said. Well, I think in other versions of the text it says like, while the words were in his mouth, right? Like, while the words were still in his mouth, it was like God responded to him and said these things are going to happen to him. So this version says here that he was driven away from the people and ate grass like an ox. His body was drenched with the dew of heaven, whatever that means, until his hair grew like the feathers of an eagle and his nails like the claws of a bird. So there's a few, like, just focus on a few things, right, about what this says. So he no longer looks like a human. He was outcast. So he no longer lives with humans, and then he eats like an animal now, because like it says here, he eats grass like an ox. Well, how do you do that? The grass is down there. So this heavily implies that his body was also distorted in a way they don't describe. So it's a possibility that he is now on all fours, right? Now, he was outcast, so he doesn't, he can't get in like the human cities anymore. He doesn't look anything like that. And I don't think he was able to speak either. I think that's what it's implying. Maybe some of the other versions of the text could elaborate more on that. But if you were to look at this text and be asked the question, like, what did God do to him? I think one statement says it very clearly. God turned him into an animal. It is blatant. He turned him into an animal. What else did he do? He turned him into something that looks like an animal, eats like an animal, and lives with the animals. It lives outside and doesn't talk to people, doesn't do anything. He's an animal now. And so God did this to punish his pride. So if God is turning people into animals to punish them, then it is very clearly a bad thing. So what are you furries doing? You're turning yourselves into animals. It's almost like you're punishing yourselves. I mean, the way I see it is you were given this beautiful image, apparently in God's own image of a human, and you spat in his face and say, no, I reject that, and I just want to, for some reason, take the form of an animal instead. It is disgusting behavior. You certainly, like there's a difference in the occasional slip up in like the Christian life, right? Like you have the occasional slip up and, you know, habit and whatever. But then you have like an entire lifestyle that is just, it's the complete identity, and it encompasses your whole personality and lifestyle. So it's like you're not just occasionally committing the sin, you know, you're not occasionally just slipping up. Like, you are the slip up. Like, you are living, like, your very life itself is like an image of sin. Like, you have turned this thing into this degenerate form of sin. So it's like, how could you call yourself a Christian and then do this? They're exclusive. This would be like the same thing as like being trans and Christian, when it blatantly speaks out against cross-dressing and all the things that you would be doing. Like, you're playing God and you're changing your own form, which was perfectly fine, by the way. You had no reason to change it. So like, I don't know if I said earlier, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's no reason to change yourself, okay? So when you hear these furries referring to themselves, like when you ask them why they use the avatar, they're like, oh, this represents me more. Like, this is, I feel better, like the video like said, right? No, this is not you. This is just some twisted, like, persona of you. This is like some delusion. This is like something in your head telling you that you should be doing this. This is why I'm just always comparing them to trans all the time. They're so very similar. I truly feel like it's a source of like schizophrenia or mental illness, like the DID thing we went over earlier. I don't see how it's any different. Like, you hear them talk about how they do this as like a coping mechanism. They want to escape reality. How is that not insane? Like, it's clear as day. Furries are mentally ill. I don't know if I said this earlier, but, you know, well, actually I think I did. The trans, they have gender dysphoria. The furries have species dysphoria. You know, they're uncomfortable, and they have the anxiety towards their own species, and so they want to turn into these animal things. It is a total mess. I would love to be invited to any of these churches to, you know, spread this word. And I think the pastors are just like really old, and they're just a little outdated, and they don't really understand what furries are. And they just don't understand how bad they are, like, aside from, like, what I just explained, like, literally. They don't know what they get themselves into. So I don't think they deal with them, and I guess they probably try and adopt this accept anybody attitude. But when the church becomes a bloody zoo, I think I think there's a problem, because like in the video, it is the community you can go to, and you could start talking about, like, you could come out of the closet and you could talk about all of your wildest desires and fetishes and all that. So is this really how you want your church to look? It probably smells as bad as it looks, honestly. You know, they say an avatar is like a representation of one's self. They say it's a way to tell people your interests and hobbies. But if these stinky animal avatars like a representation of you, then maybe it just represents how how badly your personality stinks, right? I don't know, or just how ugly your personality truly is, because these furry avatars are just hideous. They are just so damn ugly. And this is the main reason I actually can't stand them. I freaking hate just looking at them. Anytime I look at them, I almost feel like a visceral, like a vomit. It's almost like a cringing feeling. Just looking at them pisses me off so badly. It's like on the topic of your brain, how are you not an idiot when you have the option to look like anything possible, and then you want to look like something that's so ugly and just stupid and smelly? You know, you look like roadkill that's just been stinking off the side of the road for like a week. Like, how could you possibly have any self-awareness or IQ if you want to look like that when you have the option to look beautiful or handsome or whatever, right? It just boggles my mind. I don't really understand what's wrong with them. They have to be mentally ill. There's clearly something wrong with them. That's just common sense, I think. I think that is what logic would dictate, surely. Oh, man. Furries. Unbelievable. You know, as I've always said, if they just stick to where they belong and just go back to their furry worlds, I wouldn't really care as much. Or like I said in the original Furry Commandments video, if they just put some damn clothes on, I probably wouldn't hate them as much. But they're all bloody, running around naked, and they're just so damn ugly. I really can't stand them. Anyway, I can't really think of anything else to say about them. Just to summarize, I could just say furries are hypocrites. They are stereotypically the social outcasts you'd expect them to be. Like, they're fat, they're ugly, they have no self-awareness. They're generally LGBT, which on their own is like that's degenerate behavior anyway. That's social outcast behavior anyway. There's a reason why these things have been stigmatized for countless years. Yeah, just stay in your furry lobbies. And I think there's a reason why most of these furries just seem totally weird. Like, what we're gonna do right now is we're actually gonna I'm just gonna try it. I'm gonna go to like a public lobby, like a furry lobby, and I'm gonna take a look at some of these things. I don't normally do this, but I figured why not? It's a special occasion, so let's go ahead and try that. let's see. I'm just going in blind. I don't know what I'm gonna see. I don't know. It could be anything. I has a feeling. Let's just see how ugly these things are, and let's just see how many of them are LGBT. Let's see how many of them are just outwardly cringe and just don't care. Let's find out. Let's see. Safety level, none. I'm gonna have all the effects on. Turn the music on. Okay. Is there anyone here? There's 15 people here. Here, no, we're not gonna do that. How do you... Oh wait, hold on, I don't know how to get in. Do I... Nope. What? Am I supposed to click this? What am I... Extra period at the end. Oh, okay. Didn't I just turn all the avatars on? Hold on. None. Okay, just give it a second. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of like trolls are here. Which is a terrible thing to do, by the way. Like, if you know these people are down bad losers and that kind of thing, you shouldn't go in their own homeworlds and bother them. Like, that's just evil. Like, I think this guy right here is probably doing that. Let's see what we got here. So this guy's like all pink.
If you do end up going right now, don't worry about bombs, worry about getting stabbed.
Well, I'm not Jewish.
Okay, I don't see anything incriminating yet. Uh-oh. 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 I'm gonna talk... I think I might actually talk to this guy about that. Let's see. Beware of dog. Is he the dog? Smooth crotch club. Autism. Greg Furs. I don't know if y'all could even see this because I have streamer mode on. Hopefully y'all can. Let's take a look at this one. Oh look, he's gay. That took 3 minutes to find. Don't flirt with me, I'll cry. Don't bully me.
I'm gonna have to. Passive jihad patient.
This guy has a.
That's them, not me.
Everything's so sore. Constantly trying to build your religion. That's what passive.
Autism. So I guess all the furries are either LGBT or autistic. This is a troll right there.
And I say that.
Here's another one.
Baby, I was getting into it.
Classic car.
I'm gonna have to fuck it.
This guy doesn't seem so bad, but look at this hypocrisy. Anti-furry furry club.
Both clipping this.
Look how ugly these damn things are. God's sake.
Keep going, keep going, keep going.
Now keep in mind, this is on no safety, so all shaders are on. If this guy wants to crash me, I'm done for. I'm just going in to show you. Let's actually just take a look what they look like with shaders off, because like a lot of them are gonna be like naked. Let's see. Oh wait.
I miss you.
Hold on.
I miss you.
Okay, let's see. Oh, whoops. All avatars are off. My bad. Okay, give it a second. Okay, so maybe this is why I see all of them naked. Because I always play with like shaders off. Every single one of them are naked now. See that? So I guess this is a shader issue. But does that matter? Does that matter? Like, human avatars wouldn't be allowed in public even if it was like a shader issue. Look at that disgusting thing. Oh man. Of course he's Danish.
It's really that triple.
I like boys. Lol. Ukrainians. Look at this disgusting zoo.
No cars. Holy shit, why are there so many
Here,
people?
let me, let's turn the shaders and stuff back on. You know, some of these are actually worse with the clothing on.
They call me a pedophile.
Like, you see this thing here? How it has, like, the clothing everywhere except the genitals? You see that? Like, this is, like, imagery that would imply that it's, like, quote-unquote naked, and, like, the genitals are just hanging out. I mean, look at that thing. It has the thigh highs, and it has the shirt, and then the one spot it's, you know, uncovered is, like, the crotch. It says not gay, but he's got pronouns in his bio. Not sure about that, Chief. He's in 80 groups, he's probably autistic. He says he's not gay, but he's in all these gay groups. 5 gay groups. Furry femboy. Okay, dude. Sure, totally. Polyamorous, pansexual. Trash. Gender fluid. Trash. Oh wait, that was the same guy. This avatar is disgusting. That's probably going to get my video age restricted. Shill trans? Oh, look at that. Trans. This guy doesn't seem to have anything. Gender fluid, never mind. Oh wait, that's the gay one from earlier. I mean, they're all gay, but lol. Let's see. Gay. There it is. Okay. I've tried... Here's another one. Drugs take the pain away. He's obviously depressed. He's in like 100 groups. He's clearly autistic. Although his groups don't look that bad. I mean, he's just in furry groups. But I'm not seeing any evidence of like LGBT stuff from him. I don't know if I checked this one earlier. Rhythm with the tism. He's obviously all autistic. Sexual status. Degenerate. Oh, he's lewd. He likes to ERP. Okay, so you know for a fact he ERPs at this avatar here. He has a light. That's probably his furry cock. Dude has a haptic vest. This guy is one of the worst. I think I've already inspected this guy earlier. Maybe. Oh god, I'm getting crashed. And there it is. Damn it, I wanted to talk to the Christian one. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Whatever. Oh, one last thing I wanted to add real quick. If the furries and the LGBTs are the same people, then don't let furries near your kids.